Kwesi Adofo-Mensha do it again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and coming up on today's show, I'm going to be talking about some highway robbery that Kwesi pulled off this offseason, specifically in the UDFA class. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But first off, guys, we're actually closing in on 27,500 subscribers. So if you guys are not subscribed just yet, please help us out. We just need 68 of you guys to hit that milestone. My goal was to hit 28,000 subs for Adrian Peterson before week 1. So if we could just get to the milestone right before that, that would be awesome. So hit that subscribe button, help me out, and, hey, us Vikings fans need to rally together, especially during times like this right now. But let's talk about the highway robbery that Kwesi just got away with. And, we're going to be talking about these three players. We're going to talk about Bo Richter, edge rusher out of Army, as he has been lighting up during the first preseason game and also looked good in training camp. Then also Gabe Murphy, UDFA edge rusher, started off his collegiate career at North Texas. Then he did transfer to UCLA, so we'll be diving into him. Then how about Trishton Jackson? He's been with the Vikings for a couple years, but after his preseason performance against the Raiders and plus what he's been doing at training camp, I almost think he's a lock to make the 53-man roster here from Minnesota. But let's start off with Bo Richter here. 6'1", 250 pounds out of Air Force, not Army. I apologize for that. But he dominated against the Las Vegas Raiders. And in only 20 snaps on defense, he accumulated 6 tackles, 1 sack, 2 pressures, and this was all just with 20 reps this past Saturday. Now, he is a guy, he's a very physical football player. He plays with a ton of confidence, plays with a ton of swagger when he's out there on the football field. And when I saw him out there this Saturday, you can't tell me he kind of looks like a poor man's J.J. Watt with that massive armband he's got on his left arm right there, rocking the number 98, but he looks the part out there in the football field. And also the thing I love about him the most, after every single play he made, whether it was a sack or a good run stuff, he would get up, giving a let's go to the Vikings fans. He gives this contagious energy when he's out there on the football field. And I'm not saying he could be the next J.J. Watt, but he does kind of look at him. But I do want to get you guys this quote from Nick Undlin. He's a beat reporter with the Minnesota Vikings, and he does a great job. And he had this to say about Richter. He said he was relentless in pursuit, explosive off the line, and played with power and speed. He's built like a brick house and has a type of body that is very reminiscent of Vikings great Brian Robinson. It's worth noting that he was playing against third and fourth stringers, but that's what he is, and he dominated the competition. And I love the edge that Bo plays with. Like, he plays like a UDFA, and I think if you are an UDFA or a 6th or 7th round draft pick, you got to play with that sense of swagger. You got to play with that sense of confidence, and Bo has that. And I actually love the comparison to Brian Robinson that Nick made. I can see it. A combination of power and speed. Richter's got it all, and if you add him to a already, in my opinion, loaded edge group for the Minnesota Vikings, we could be talking about this group as one of the better ones in the NFL. Like, you got Grenard, a prototypical, true, first option at the edge department, but then you got the most versatile edge in the National Football League, Andrew Van Ginkel, as he is actually starting to be a full participant at practice as of lately, which is great news. But then you mix in guys like Dallas Turner, Gabe Murphy, who we'll talk about here in a second, Patrick Jones. Then obviously, Bo, you got a solid 6-man rotation at that edge department. And, listen, I think this is one of the best edge groups the Vikings have had since the Mike Zimmer days. Like, I love what Danielle Hunter brought to the team. Like, he was fantastic, and I think he's going to dominate with the Houston Texans. I mean, he was a walking 15-sack guy when he was fully healthy. But as a complete group, as a full, 53-man roster at that edge department, this is one of the best the Vikings have had since the Zimmer days. Now, I do want to dive into some strengths and weaknesses that I did see from Bo in his first game. The number one strength I saw, lower body explosiveness. He always sets a very solid base when he's approaching that get-off, which is huge at the next level, but he's also super fluid. The one sack he had, it was almost like a crossover in basketball. Like, he kind of jabbed that way. He hopped in, got to the quarterback. Like, he does have some, elite short area quickness for a bigger fella, and kind of speaks to the lower body explosiveness. He always sets a very solid base during every single one of his get-offs. He looks the part. I see it with Bo, but he's definitely got some weaknesses, and this was the biggest reason why he wasn't drafted. Lack of length. He doesn't have like dinosaur arms where he's got a super short wingspan, but he definitely has a shorter wingspan compared to other elite defensive tackles in the league. And, his upper body does get tight. He's not the most fluid in terms of like making swim moves and the whole nine. But the one negative I will say, and this is dating back to his collegiate career, as he has been neutralized by big offensive linemen in the past. When it's big bodies, they're able to get to his their hands on him, and they can almost match his strength. That is where he has struggled in past years. But, hey, he dominated the Raiders' third and fourth stringers. Maybe he could dominate the Cleveland Browns' second stringers and just continue to work his way up this depth chart. But you guys let me know, is Bo Richter going to make the final 53-man roster for the Minnesota Vikings? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comments section. I'll make this the pinned comment on today's show, so go down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. Now, is Trishton Jackson, or we'll talk about Trishton Jackson here in a second. Let's talk about the other edge rusher here, another UDFA out of UCLA, Gabe Murphy. Now, Gabe Murphy did start his collegiate career with 2 seasons at North Texas, and then he did transfer to UCLA where he popped, man. In his senior season, he had 8 sacks, 22 tackles. He looked the part at that edge rusher department, and we'll talk about why he didn't get drafted here in a second. But this is what Alec Lewis had to say after the Vikings did pick up Gabe Murphy as a part of their UDFA class, saying the safe bet is UCLA edge rusher Gabriel Murphy. The lack of full speed 11-on-11 work this spring kept him from making a major impact. The pitcher might change when he puts on the pads, similar to Ivan Pace Jr. last year. The other 2 players I'll be watching closely are cornerback Dwight McGlothern, who played defensive back coach Durante Jones at LSU, and Marshall edge rusher Owen Porter, who could vie for a special teams role. And listen, here at Chat Sports, we had actually Gabe Murphy as a top 100 prospect. Tom Downey, our lead NFL draft analyst, does a great job covering the league, and he actually had Gabe Murphy as a top 100 player. So I think he's definitely got the talent. He's got the pop there. But you may be asking yourself, well, if he was a top 100 player, why wasn't he drafted? Well, similar to Ivan Pace here, Ivan Pace wasn't drafted because of his height. Pace, he had 22.5 TFLs his senior year at Cincinnati. He lit it up for that defense over there. And Gabe Murphy, similarly, wasn't drafted because of his wingspan. And I understand being an edge rusher in the NFL, you want to have a longer wingspan for you can just help shed off blockers. But I just think maybe sometimes these scouts, like, they overlook the actual talent out there on the football field for something that is, that doesn't necessarily translate to being successful at the next level. But I do want to show love to former UDFA, Ivan Pace Jr. If you guys could, type those zeros, type his jersey number as Ivan Pace is, setting himself up to have a massive year with the Minnesota Vikings. He's wearing the green dot, one of my favorite players on this football team. So show him some love down below. Now, we'll talk about Trishton Jackson here in a second, but first off, I want to give a big-time shout-out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Now, football season is just around the corner. Week 1 is almost here, and I already got my lineup cooked up for that. As Caleb Williams, I'm going to take the more on his passing yards at 236.5. And then no matter who the quarterback is for the Vikings, even though it is most likely going to be Sam Darnold, I think Jefferson's going to light it up. I'm going to take his more on 89.5 receiving yards. Then I'm also going to ride with DJ Moore more than 63.5 receiving yards. So download Prize Picks today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, run your game. Now let's talk about wide receiver Trishton Jackson, as I actually think he's starting to become almost a lock to make this football team. Now, he is a guy that has bounced around the Vikings for multiple seasons. He started off with the practice squad. He, got elevated for a couple games last year, but he's just been bouncing back and forth, and he has been working with Vikings wide receiver coach really intensely over the past couple of seasons, and we finally saw that hard work come to fruition against the Las Vegas Raiders, where he was great. 4 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown versus Las Vegas. And the touchdown catch, I loved it so much. It was just a streak route for Trishton Jackson, but he got the DB in his blind spot, and then he just kind of almost, like I was saying with Bo, he kind of almost did a basketball crossover, just got behind him, and then, J.J. McCarthy put it right in the breadbasket, perfect throw, and then Trishton took it to the house. But, other plays he had on that one J.J. McCarthy play action, he was running a crossing route over the to the left side of the field. JJ put it right in the bucket, strong hands, and he doesn't let the ball get close to his chest, which is obviously key as a receiver. He goes and meets it. He high points the football. He's got really strong hands, and for the man out of Syracuse, he could be making making the roster this upcoming year. But let's talk about what Nick had to say around Trishton Jackson as well, saying he exploded against the Raiders with 4 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown. He ran beautiful routes and used his speed to get behind the defender on that glorious J.J. McCarthy bomb. Jackson put his name back on the map in a huge way with his huge game and is now the front runner to land the final spot on the Vikings wide receiver depth chart. And listen, Trishton Jackson has earned this. Just calling a spade here. Like, I would almost rather lean a guy like Trishton Jackson to making this team in comparison to like a UDFA or even a guy like Brandon Powell, just because he's been there with this organization. He knows the offense. He's been working with the Vikings receiving coach for the last couple of years. They have a good relationship, and I think he's got a really good chance to make this team because I think Jalen Naylor has cemented himself as the favorite for the wide receiver 3 spot, but I think they're going to keep 5 receivers, and I think they're going to lean Trishton Jackson as that 4 spot, and I could even see a guy like Jawan James, Trent Sherfield making it over Brandon Powell. And this is a shocker. As if you guys watch the show early on this offseason, I had Brandon Powell listed as a wide receiver 3. I actually expect Powell to be cut now. He had a couple bad drops in training camp, and I don't want to, harp on him too much for that, but he just really hasn't proven himself this offseason. And, he stepped in, and he was great in spot starts last year for the Vikings, but with, homegrown talent continuously developing, I could see him be on the outside looking in when this 53-man gets released in August. But hey, if you guys made it to the end of today's show, give me a skull down below in the comment section. Or if you guys just want to, maybe show some more support to J.J. McCarthy, you guys could type in 9 as well. But I want to see where all the real ones are at that watch this entire video. Now, if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter as well, that's a handle right there, @PatSeeps. Link for that is in the comment section and description of today's show. Give me a follow over there. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.